Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Try It Out Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me. Cascading already, that's not good, is it? So, tonight we're going to be looking at the Doodle Mandalas. I haven't had a play with these for a little while. So in fairness, it's been really fun to get them out and do some prep for tonight's live as well. So I thought we could have a talk through, and then obviously anybody that hasn't seen them before, we can have a little look and have some fun playing with those. So first of all, of course, I will try and find you on the old Facebook so I can see if there are any comments at all. As you join in, please leave a comment. If you can do a share, that would be fantastic, but I understand not everybody can. Hello Alison, Samantha, Shazar and Pauline, and hello to anyone else I can't see because obviously it doesn't always tell you. Alright, move that out the way, because believe it or not, there's a little bit of a plan. Not a lot of a plan, but a little bit of a plan, which I think is quite good. Hello, Rachel. Okay. So, like I say, we're going to be using the Doodle Art Mandalas this evening. I am going to try and plan my live so I can tell you what we're going to be using earlier in the day. So, if you do want to get any stuff ready, or you've got any, you know, thinking, oh, well, I've got that set, or oh, I've been thinking about that set, you know, whether it's a good one for you to tune in. Okay, so here we have Mandala set 1 and 2. Now these are quite big sets, and we did release both of them at the same time because neither Samurai could pick any less than the 12 we did pick. There was actually more, and now we did plan to release the other ones not long after these, but then there was other people doing them, and it was just like, do you know what, we feel like the Mandala's being a bit bombarded at the minute, so the other ones will come, but they're not planned in for the schedule right now. So we have Mandala set, like I say, 1 and 2, so you've got 6 on each. Okay, another thing we really debated about when we were doing these is whether to launch them in black and white or coloured backings. Now obviously Doodle Art we generally do in coloured backings, but I do sometimes think, excuse me, the colours on here, I mean, you can't really see the detail on them in some ways. Okay, so for example, this one here, okay, this is it stamped in black and white, so you can really see you've got all that detail in sort of like the leaves that are in the middle that you could layer up in lots of different ways. So you can see the colouring, I think, really pronounces, for want of a better description, like a propeller effect behind it. But as you can see, you have 8 of those going round, so it doesn't seem as pronounced when it's in black and white. Does that make sense? So what I would say is when you get, or if you have the Doodle Art Mandalas and you haven't been using them as much as you would have liked to, or if you are going to treat yourself to some new Doodle Art Mandalas, I would honestly say when you get them all home, stamp them all out in black and white first. I think you'll see them in a completely new way, not necessarily a better way, but just a newer and different way. Also, please check out the fabulous Bee Crafty creative team's samples using the Doodle Art Mandalas. They use them really regularly in terms of backgrounds and things like that. There is a search, if you go onto the web version of the blog, there is a search bar, and if you put in the mandalas, you'll get loads of samples come up. There is also an album in the Bee Crafty Stamps group where the creative team have put their samples. Okay, well, for example, as well, if you joined me a few weeks ago when I was making the ATCs with the sketchy flowers, we put some on there as well, didn't we? So that was quite good. I think it was 2 weeks ago. All right. So yeah, you can cut them and use them into sections. Now, one of the first pages, journal pages, I think, where I used them was in my blue journal, which I have learned this week has been discontinued. So if you have one, well done, you. And it was in this one, and I used the mandalas in the background. I've cut and layered, I've stamped some on, and I've cut and layered some on. So it's a real sort of mix. of how you put them together. I also did one, I can't remember if it was in this journal or in another one, working with the journaling girls. Just bear with, I can't remember which journal it was in now. Oh, there, we've used them in the background on some stamping tissue. Here we go, this is the one. So this one, we turned them into flowers, and that is similar to what we're going to do tonight. We're going to use them as flowers. One of my favourite samples of using these for flowers. Now, if you can look in the background here, I'm sure this tutorial is on YouTube. I'll do a link for it later. So they were stamped onto stamping tissue and stuck down, and then some of these ones were done. And like we were saying about using sections, okay, these 8 petal beauties that you can see here are from Mandala set 1, and they're the inside of this one. Okay, so like I say, stamping out in black and white when you get home really, I think, allows you to see quite a lot more of the possibilities. Alright, okay. So I'm moving onwards. So like I say, I haven't had them out in a while. So what I did today was I had a play with them before I came up with a plan for tonight's live. Okay, because I don't know about you, but you know, you can forget how to use stuff. You know, I have a lot of the mixture of designing and all this sort of thing. So I wanted to have a play with them. So I was getting out some other things I've been doing. Now I did do a live where I made this as well. Sort of like a Christmas tree decoration you could do, or you could make them into sort of mobile type things. So you can stick them together as well to make really good 3D elements as well. You know, something like that. You could put a sequin in the front, put them back to back, or even use them just to layer them up too. That's quite groovy. Alright. This one is sort of 3D'd up with some 3D foam. Okay. And I've got lots of these cut out for tonight's flowers. So these are going to be tonight's flowers. I wanted to use all the different colours. I won't use 6 because that'll mess with my mind. So these are a mix of the 2 sets as well. Sorry, just to go back because I realised I didn't finish a sentence earlier. There is a fantastic sample on the blog, and I might bring it to the top in the Bee Crafty Stamps page if we ask her very, very nicely, where she used this mandala, and this was off Mandalas 1. So again, you see how those two look different, okay? And she's used this one to create a sort of rose effect, which is really, really beautiful. I can't help but notice I'm buffering a bit tonight, so I'm sorry if that's me. Hopefully it's just my phone. So you can use this to create sort of really nice rose. I'll just hold it up, you can probably see the potential of that a little bit better. You know, that makes a really good rose, that one. You know, because you could just easily watercolour it in pinks as well. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, but what I was also doing, because you know, Abby's decided to paint her bedroom and Dave was sorting out toys, so I hid, for want of a better description, as I was using my stamps to stamp, oh, I've just broken that, to stamp into embossing powder, okay? So on my non-stick craft sheet, okay, that's stuck to a board, I was heating up embossing powder and layering it up like you would with UT, but I just used my regular Ranger embossing powder. Now my favourite one, so I did that one, I was stamping into it, but my favourite one is I used the square one off Mandalas 2. Okay, and whilst the embossing powder is hot, I stamped into it, and that's, I don't know if you can see the dimension on there or not really, but it's sort of textured because I heated the embossing powder and then stamped into it. Really, really good fun. And in case you were wondering if your polymer stamps would withstand that, yes, they do very well, actually. Better than when I'm getting overexcited showing you, it would appear. Okay. I think it's best we crack on before I break something else. So, Doodle Arts, fantastic mandalas. I don't know if Sam's already put a link for those on, but I'm sure she will soon. If not, I'll try and make sure I go back and put on links at the end, so that's absolutely fine. I'm going to try and create a sort of like a leafy effect to the background. Okay, so I'm going to use the Jungle Leaves Inkables big one. Okay, these are back in stock on the website. And this page keeps lifting up. Just wait a second. So these are back in stock on the website, and they still do have a multi-buy offer on the big ones. And then we're also going to use some of the leaf stalk from Inkables set number 6. And maybe, I haven't decided yet, this ferny leaf from Inkables set number 1. Okay? Because I just think that will really help create the background. So I'm going to get a few different greens out. I'm going to get a Lucky Clover, a Bundled Sage. I'm really going to layer these up. I could do with... Do I go darker or not? That's the question. Yeah, do you know what? We'll go with a forest moss. Okay, so we'll put these to the sides of my journal here. I'm going to use my blending brushes, not my foams, because there's a little bit of intricate ones on here, and I just want to make sure I get all those colours out. So I've got 2 different green brushes. Okay, now obviously my Inkables big one, whilst a big template, is not big enough to cover this page. But as this is a background, that's okay. There's going to be a little bit of a join because we're going to add in other stuff after. It's absolutely fine. I have not gesso prepped this page. So if you have a Dina journal and it's the cotton paper, whether it's the 6x6 or the black journal or the blue one, these all react the same because it's the same paper stock. So that's absolutely fine. But it does have that texture as well, which is where I think sometimes having the brushes is just a little bit more helpful too. So I'm going to, because I'm going to be darting in and out, I am actually going to take all 3 lids off. You know, this is something I do not do lightly. No, I do not. Okay, I'm going to reorder these brushes. These actually, so I'm moving up the scale, and I'm going to save that one for the darkest one. Okay, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to add in some of my Bundled Sage. Okay, really sort of random. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with the Lucky Clover in some other sections that I've missed. Okay, and then a little bit of forest moss. And when you lift up, you've got this beautiful sort of negative jungly type background. Okay, so then I'm just going to move it over. We really don't need to worry too much about it meeting up or anything like that. It's absolutely fine. I'm going to do the same again, going off the edge. And again with my forest moss. And again, we're going to lift that up. And we've got more of that background going on. So you can see, it really does just sort of mesh into one. Okay, now I'm going to put these lids on because I'm going to use one colour at a time now. Alright, so I'm going to take this Leafy Branch from Inkables set number 6. Okay, and we're going to go in with bundled sage to start with. And this is us just working around the edge now. So this one's going to be different because this is more of a positive instead of a, see, so the white is where the leaves are on this, but this is where the leaf is coming in as a positive. Obviously, if you wanted to keep that going, you do also get the mask in this set too. So you can do both if you want. You don't have to. There you go, and then we can turn that over. Do it a bit more that way. Coming in from the top. Alright. And then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go straight in with the forest moss this time. But as you can see, you don't have to worry about covering all the leaves every time because you're building it up. But you can see this is making quite a busy background and it would go really well. Sorry, I'm just going to grab these out because I know a lot of you have received them and are playing with them with our Doodle Art rainbow birds, wouldn't they? You know, you could make something very pretty with those, but that's not why we're here. I'm so easily distracted. This is why I love doing Try It Out Tuesdays for you guys, because I have to keep going on the project I've started rather than getting distracted and doing something else. And no, I'm not saying that's never happened on Try It Out Tuesday. It's just, it's more likely to not happen. Okay, and then I'm going to turn that back around. Do another one there. Okay, I'm actually loving this. I'm now almost tempted not to put anything over the top of it. That's beautiful. I adore it. Okay. But I think I'm going to go in with some Lucky Clover. But just to sort of spice it up a little bit, I'm going to go with this single feather from the Inkables set 1. Okay, but I'm just going to use the ends. I think this is the only one I'm going to do with Lucky Clover, because I think this really ties in with the detail on that leaf there. Sort of bringing it all together. But you know, you're now looking at it thinking, oh, what can I see through all these leaves? Well, nothing, because we haven't put anything there. But that's how it looks, isn't it? Like you can see through all these leaves. See this beautiful pattern emerging. All right. Oh, green fingers. It's like I'm turning into the Hulk. No wisecracks, please. Okay. Then I think, well, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to use what's left on my blending brushes just to go around the edge with both, just so it's a mix of tone. Beautiful. Okay, really, really happy with that. And let's face it, we can't always say that, can we? That we're really, really happy with it. I now wish I'd done some more of these, because wouldn't they look great? But anyway. So now we're going sort of for like a tropical flower. Do you know what? We might have to put a Doodle Art bird in here, because I think it's going to work. Nope, changing my mind. Step too far. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly, with a pencil that I don't appear to have, The background's insane. In the membrane, no. I'm just going to have to do it with this pen. Okay. I'm going to lift those off. Can't remember the order they were in. Hang on. Never mind. Okay. And I can see sort of where the pen marks are. So I have brought in freehand borders number 1. Okay, and we're going to use these to create the stems. Okay, so I'm going to grab my border block. You can see I was using it to scrape off unused embossing powder today. I really need a new one of these. This one's looking so unloved. Oh, I do have a cleaner one. Okay, let's go for this one first, which is this one here. I like this one because you've got that option to colour it in. Now for the stems, I'm going to make my life easier because we are not here to make our lives more difficult, and I'm going to turn my journal around. Okay, save you turning yourself inside out. Okay. Yeah, so because of the gaps in this design, it's really easy to tie it in with the colours you're doing. So if you want something like this, or a more fuller stem, or a border, or something like that, and you're going for, say, a red, white and blue theme, or a black and white theme, or things like that, it's easy to sort of tie it all in. So you've got a way of making the same thing look different all the time, which is great. Alrighty, I'm going to do the stems. I do need a deeper green now. A rustic wilderness. There we go. So I'm going to ink these up, and we're going to see if this lovely rich Distress Oxide is enough to cope with all this green I've put on before. Oh, it's actually not bad. It's not bad. Or do you think we should have gone for one of the colours out of the... Oh, I don't know. Okay. This is one of these projects. It's not going exactly how I thought, but I'm okay with it. I'm just going to keep going. Alright, and then we're going to go for another one. We're just going to keep using these freehand borders. Oh yes, I actually really like that one. I've realised I actually missed the first marker. So I'm going to use the leaves. The mandalas also make beautiful centres for if you're using the mandala Inkables, the 6x6 Inkables. If you are trying to practice your decoupage on other things like that. You can mix and match the middles. You can layer them up with each other. You know, you can mix and match the centres to create different ones. And then we'll just go for this. No, we're going to go for this dashed line here. Okay. So, one of the questions I am asked the most, and I think a lot of stamp designers are asked this, to be fair, is what's the best thing for colouring in my stamps? Okay, now unfortunately this is a question none of us can really answer intelligently, because, not because we're not intelligent, I mean, let's not scratch that itch, it's more because different ones are suited to different people. I can't remember the order they went in. Do you know what I mean? So some people like pens. Some people actually prefer colouring with a brush. Some people, you know, it's very, very personal on how you like to colour. So one of my favourite ways to colour is actually watercolouring with distress ink. You know, onto a blending mat and then watercolour that way. Okay? But it's not the only way I colour. Okay? So all of these mandalas here, okay, I coloured today on a not very expensive cardstock, shall we say. It was quite thin. I think it was an old card. The craft room cleanup continues. Did you see my reel on Instagram? The shame. Anyway, and I'm coming across more and more cards, and they have to be used up. So I didn't want to get it too wet. So what I actually did, I have a big packet of these that I bought a couple of years ago for my bullet journaling. I use them primarily for that. And it is my Crayola Super Tips. Okay, these are just Crayola Super Tips. Okay? And this is the thing, it doesn't have to be all one thing or all the other. I talk about distress inks a lot because I think you get a lot of bang for your buck. Obviously, you can stamp with them, you can do your backgrounds with them, and you can colour with them. And that's why I like to talk about those if you're on a limited space or budget, because you can do so many things with them. But that's not to say, you know, you're not in town and you see a fantastic offer for a box of Crayola Super Tips, and I'm going, oh no, you shouldn't use those. You absolutely should. You absolutely should. But you have to know when you can use them and when it's not really the right sort of time. But as you can see, the blend on them is okay. They're quite vibrant. I've managed to go over the top of them with my Posca to do some highlighting, just do some extra detail dots and whatever. So, you know, have a look, see what you've got. It doesn't have to be... No, you're being swapped out. You know, it doesn't actually have to be, you know, you have to have these, you know, super duper markers or anything like that. It's just a case of finding something you can work with and having some fun with that. Okay. Right, so I've got the stems here. Okay, I mix up my colouring mediums. I often watercolour, then add pens or pencil crayons, dried shadows and depth. Absolutely. Sorry, that was a childhood flashback. I'll put my teeth back in and then I'll be able to pronounce my S's again. Alright, I have to be honest, I only used the blue once on this Doodle Art Mandala here because I just felt it was a bit too rich. So, but I will say these do dry paler. If you do have these and you've used them a couple of times, wait for them to dry. I did have a message today that I forgot to address, and they said they're not sure they could budget for both sets of mandalas right now. Which one is the best one? It comes back to the colour and mediums thing. It's whichever one you think you're going to get the most use out of if you're only treating yourself to one today. I love this one because this is one of my favourite mandalas, which is why I specifically haven't used it for this, because I always do. And whatever. And obviously you've got the big petals here. For example, Mandalas one, I know for a fact is Sam's favourite set. Okay? Because you've got this flower here, you've got this leafy thing in the middle of here, and you've got these lovely circles. And obviously you've got the one we were talking about with the rose. However, on this one, you cannot really underestimate the use of this little one here. It's so useful for layering, and you can put it together in lots of different ones. And of course you've got this square star and whatever. So there's lots on both that are really good. So unfortunately, I'm of absolutely no use to answer this person's question. Because yeah, they're both really good. And they're different, which is why me and Sam whittled them down to these 12. What I keep meaning to do, and I haven't had chance to, though, is I want to have a go at using some of these to make frames on scrapbook pages. So, sorry, I could be colouring in whilst talking. Right, so when I'm colouring in, for example, when I was colouring these mandalas earlier, Okay, what I'll do, I'll show you how I do it basically now with these borders. What I do is I stamp out however many I want and cut them out. Okay, and then I'll pick the colours I'm using. So I pick just standard rainbow. Don't know where my pink is. Anyway, so I just pick standard rainbow sort of colours. And then I'll do all my yellow. And then I'll do all my orange. And then I'll do my pink. And then, do you know what I mean? I'll do one colour at a time. And then do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the yellow. And then I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm just saying I was asked and that's how I do it. So you can see this yellow here, it's a much darker colour that maybe it sees here. And I do think they dry a lot lighter. I am going to use this. I know there's a lot of green on here already, but I do think we still need to use, if we can, a little bit of the green. And I will leave some spaces undone as well. I do think we need that pink though. Something just fell down. See, because we are going on top of that green, that pink is ever so dark. So you could always cut these out and layer them on afterwards if you like. I still might. The beauty of going directly on is if you don't like it, the option to stick on over the top is always there anyway. So here we go. And then I'm going to use my Posca pen. I'm going to add in the white dots. Now, this has only just been applied, and this is a really absorbent cardstock, like I said at the beginning. So, to get this to stand out really white, you'd actually be better waiting until tomorrow, or really giving it a good go with a heat tool before you add on your white elements, because they will just show up better. I'm just doing it quick to show you here. Right, and then I'm going to use some matte medium to stick these down. So the one at the bottom was this one. And this one. This one I'm really pleased with, the sort of rose one. And I'm just doing the matte medium in the middle in the hope that they'll just stay sticky uppy a bit. I mean, they probably won't. I'm specifically trying to put the petals in the centre of this on a bit of a jaunty angle. You know. And then, do you know what, I'm going to put that one underneath. I tell you what else I'm thinking as I'm looking at this. I think we might need some more colours in that background. So this is a terrible idea to have. Well, now I've just stuck these down. But I'm going to give this mask a little bit of a wipe down. I've got one of my mini misters here. Give it a bit of a clean. Why do you use matte medium and not glue? In all honesty, Maggie, I would argue that it's probably laziness on the whole. Okay? Because matte medium does everything that I want to do. Right, so you know earlier I was talking about how distressing you can do so much with it and blah, 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 blah. for me, matte medium's the same in an adhesive. Okay, so I can apply the mixed media paper with it. I can apply stamping tissue. I can glue MDF down. I can put matte glaze over things to make it water safe. You know what I mean, water resistant and stuff, to do other watering techniques on it. Because I can just do so much with it, it's always on my desk. So therefore it's just easier for me just to use that. And in all honesty, that's it. Okay, so I have decided I'm going to grab, I think we need some picked raspberry leaves. Okay, just a little bit. So I'm going to get some of my picked raspberry. I think I just need a little bit. Well, this isn't going to be the last colour I'm going to add in, is it? Okay. And this is the beauty with the oxides, okay? You can take a pink and put it over a green and it comes out pink. Okay? Try that nonsense with a regular distress ink, you're not going to get the result you want. Okay. We're going to put that back in here. That pink was definitely right, wasn't it? Okay, so now we just have to go for it, don't we? I'm going to add in, let's add in some mustard seed. We'll see if we can really get a yellow to pop as well. And I tend to use paints and sprays, don't I, in my journal, so I think sometimes it's good to go back in. Right, so I'm really going to load this brush because I want a lot of colour. So I flip my template. Okay, so we've got the leaf going the other way. Okay. Alright. And then I think I'm going to have to try for a little bit of Villainous Potion. But I am so glad we added those other colours in. It's taken me from an I'm not sure to a heck yeah. Which is great. Tell you what, shall we use... Nope, we won't. Sorry. I checked you in and then checked you out of that decision very, very quickly. Alright. So we're going to load up my Wilted Violet here. Turn that back over again because I didn't get all the yellow off. This is also a fantastic Dinkable for doodling through as well. Again, I think all of the creative team have used it for doodling through at one time or another. Linda, I can beat you on that. So Linda, if you're catching up later and you can't see the comment, Linda says she has used matte medium to stick a head back onto a garden ornament. Worked wonderfully. I have actually used it. Now, if you don't know what this is, I apologise. I'll send you a picture tomorrow. I have actually used it to reattach the sheepskin patch on the grackle noseband of a pony's bridle. Because I had just bought some. It was still in the car when we went to a show, and the sheepskin came off the leather patch that sits on the pony's nose. And I wanted to make sure it was comfortable, so I used matte medium. It was on leatherwork. And you know the funny thing, it's still there now. So there you go. So I'm not saying I was in competition with then, Linda, but if we were, I think I won. All right. Now I am going to go to, I feel like we need something else. There's something that, right. So we're going to go to, I'm really sorry about this. We're going to go to the spatter. Yeah, Shaz, it stayed on. Luckily I noticed when we got there, so I stuck it on and there were still Katie's classes to go before Abby's. So yeah, it was later on. I'm going to use this spatter in Inkables set number 3. I'm so sorry. I did not have the intentions necessarily to mess you about with 3 different sets of Inkables tonight, but you know you want them all anyway, so you know, whatevs. Okay, so I'm going to go for the Grit Paste Opaque for reasons I can't understand. I just stuck my finger in it intentionally. You know, I repaired a pair of shoes with it. Okay, so basically I feel like we've explained to Maggie why we are now all matte medium addicts. Basically, because if we've got something broke or something we want to stick down, it's just right there. Right, so I'm going to use this spatter just to add some white dots back in. It's a way of sort of adding spatter without worrying about creating mess, which I know obviously is not a massive concern of mine, but it might be of yours. And like all of our Inkables and big ones and all that sort of thing, your Inkables are made with the 350 micron mylar, so they're really good for embossing or putting texture paste through. You get some really good definition with those. Oh yes, I think so. Okay, so this is your Grit Paste Opaque, so that should stay lovely and white. Okay, but you can also colour this. You can colour it with your re-inkers or some distress ink or anything like that. Just put it on your blending mat, add a bit of ink, and you are away. Okay, so now we need some words. I have got my Mixed Messages set 4 that we launched last week, because I just think they are absolutely fantastic. Oh, those 3 dots. Oh, I could have used those 3 dots. Okay. Maybe going off piste. Let's Mixed Messages have I not put away yet? Let's have a look. So the way I said put away yet is if I'm actually gonna. I actually am. I really am. Okay. Mixed Messages set number 1. I'm liking Nothing Is As Wonderful As You, actually. Okay. So I'm thinking of stamping it in a colour. Maybe the Wilted Violets, the purple. Okay. So let's have a little look. That's fine. So let me move this to the side a second. So Nothing Is As Wonderful As You. Will that fit on that one? Just about. I might be pushing my luck though. Doesn't sound like me at all, does it? Okay, so I'm going to grab I love these ticker tape words. Because they're in a different ticker tape to our actual ticker tape words. I shouldn't have called them ticker tape words, that's confusing. So this is, but you know what I mean. It's on the Mixed Messages. Oh, this card's textured. I don't know if this is going to work. but it did. I'm just going to give that a little heat set before I chop it up. Okay, mixed messages 1, you see, there's a reason it's number 1. Because let's just say, when Sam came to me with the mixed messages, I mean, I say I brought extra mandalas for her to pick through. Well, let's just say that number was small in comparison to the number of mixed messages I was presented with to pick for the first set. So you know, if we're throwing shade around about too much choice, Samantha is right at the top. Oh, actually, should I have gone for some wordy stickers? No, stop it. Just stop it. I have to say, I think the coloured leaf addition around the edges was one of my better ideas. I mean, it's not like there's a lot to choose from, but it's still one of my better ideas. Okay. As usual, have a play around with placement. Don't commit yourself. Hello, Lucy Dog. Nothing is as wonderful. I think that'll do it. Okay. Back to my matte medium. I'm so sorry I go quiet when I'm thinking. Very busy in this head. It's like my equivalent of turning the radio on so you can see in the multi-story car park. We all do it. Turn the radio down so we can see better in a car park. We all do it. Oh, Maggie, there's another reason actually for matte medium. Okay, if you put too much glue on, too much of your matte medium on, and it squidges out the side, it dries matte, no one can tell. There isn't like a glossy patch. Sorry, now I've just got to check. Okay. Now, the only thing I might change is the stems. They're not showing up as nicely as I'd like. So I might change those for strips of white card with those freehand borders on. But I haven't decided yet. So what I'm going to do is, because I think it's the right thing to do sometimes, is leave it all to dry overnight. Because obviously I've got the texture paste here anyway. So leave it all to dry overnight and then make a decision. in the morning as to if I'm going to adjust it and how. So, emboss the stems in black. I wouldn't attempt, recommend, or whatever embossing onto this. Heat embossing onto this. It's really textured and it's never going to come out how you want. Okay. I don't even stamp directly on this in archival ink because it's a drier ink. Most of the time I'll go in with stamping tissue. But I might do them in sort of like a black and white, just to make them stamp out. But in terms of the Doodle Art Mandalas, like I say, the creative team has made absolutely a plethora of beautiful inspiration using these stamps that you can find anytime, like I say, on the Bee Crafty Stamps group or on the blog. Please check out the blog. The creative team have been putting on all their samples for the new stamps that we launched last week. The Rainbow Birds, the Doodle Art Rainbow Birds and Mixed Messages 4. Okay. There's lots coming up, hopefully, over the next few weeks too. And we will try and keep you informed of that. Make sure you've checked out Sally's new challenge. Okay. Because you could win some stamps. Well, you can win a stamps voucher that you can use on stamps. So, you know, and that's free. So that's great. And you can enter up to 3 times. Nikki, I love this. I think you're helping my mojo restart as I have the stamps. Thank you. And that's exactly why we do the lives, Nikki. Okay, so that's a really good point. If you have any Bee Crafty stamps that are still available on the website or things like that, and you're like, do you know what? I've got no idea what to do with them. I remember I saw them and she was making stuff and it was great, but I've lost my mojo a bit and I'd like to think. Just send me a message saying what the stamps are and what you'd like to start with. For example, if you're primarily a card maker, if you're primarily a journaler, or you're really not bothered, then don't worry about it. But if, for example, if you sent me a message and said, I've got the Doodle Art mushrooms and I like to make cards, but I've got nothing going on in terms of ideas, can you generate me some? Absolutely. And then what I'll also do is I'll send you some examples of my favourite creative team creations as well. All right then, guys. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of your evening. Oh, if you are UK based, you know, you've got to be happy. Apparently it's going to be summer tomorrow. Tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. That's summer. So, you know, have a good one. Stay cool. Stay hydrated. Bye-bye.